One of the biggest things that we have to learn about social emotional intelligence in its totality is that you have to eventually find a median between your empathy and your self-preservation. And the reason why I want to highlight that is because I think that is so important for people to realize, because right now social emotional intelligence is a trending topic. A lot of people are accusing others of not being emotionally intelligent. A lot of people are differentiating between empaths and narcissists. A lot of people are just using some of the buzzwords that come with learning how to be socially, emotionally intelligent. They're using them in ways that actually polarize people more than it unites people. And one of the reasons why I think people are doing that is because that's just what people do. A lot of people operate in dichotomies and they don't even realize it. And like when I say dichotomies, I mean like two different extremes, right? So they either view things or want to be seen as good or bad, right? Right or wrong, pass or fail, succeed or fail, if we're talking about achievements that aren't academic, right? But people need things to be in black and white. A lot of people do. A lot of people need things to be concrete. And I kind of talked about this in my last video. If you guys didn't get a chance to watch the video with the thumbnail, on the thumbnail it says, "Is Jesus obsolete?" with a question mark. And I'm not, of course, I'm not sharing any bias by asking that question. I really want to provoke an engaging discussion. But anyways, if you didn't get a chance to view that video, definitely check it out. Because in that video, I'm talking about people's learning styles, right? And how people process information. And the same principle shows itself here, right? When it comes down to learning about social emotional intelligence and then actually being socially emotionally intelligent. I think I added some syllables, but you guys know what I meant. But anyway, a lot of people have to deal with things in black and white. People can't see the abstract all the time. People can't make sense of gray areas all the time, right? And so because of that, it's very difficult for people to take these social emotional buzzwords for exactly what they are and use them in ways that are helpful in us understanding that gray areas a little bit better, right? People use it in the opposite way, right? So they use the buzzwords in order to solidify why they see things in black and white, right? Which is not this is not socially emotionally intelligent. It's really not. It's not emotionally intelligent. It's not socially intelligent, because for one, it's not emotionally intelligent because it's bias. You're showing bias. And whenever a person is showing bias, it shows that they're not willing or open-minded enough to see things from multiple or an opposing perspective, right? And then it's not socially intelligent because you have to realize that people process information differently. Although a lot of people need things to be black and white, you have a lot of people that can look at the same thing and interpret it completely different. So if while you are learning about social emotional intelligence and you are learning these buzzwords, and if you're using them to differentiate between good and bad, right or wrong. And of course, most people do this. They're always the one that's right, and the other people that they're looking at are wrong. It's never a reverse, a introspection. It's always outward, that's polarizing. Like that is something that so many people do. It's polarizing, and while we're all on this quest to become emotionally intelligent, we are displaying why we are not there yet as a people. And just to reference that video that I was talking about earlier, I believe that that's why there's so much division within religions and amongst other religions, because we're always operating in these dichotomies. Everything has to be black and white. Everything has to be one extreme to the next. Nobody wants to think about how to properly analyze the gray areas, right? Instead of trying to properly analyze those gray areas, we just want to categorize shit, and I think that's wrong. So one of the things that I had to realize about becoming more emotionally intelligent, becoming more socially intelligent, is no matter how many buzzwords I learn, and no matter how many principles and theories that I agree with, I still have to use my emotional intelligence and my social intelligence on a case-by-case basis. And the reason why is because if I'm encountering other people, I may have to meet people where they are, right? And that's whether they are more or less emotionally or socially intelligent than me, in my opinion, right? So with me recognizing that, okay, this is what you have to do now, I'm also learning that, okay, it's going to have to be times where you're going to have to preserve yourself, right? Yeah, you might view yourself as someone who is an empath, because that's a buzzword, right? And everybody wants to be the empath, because the empath is on the good side of the dichotomy, right? That's the good extreme. If I'm an empath, or that's what people think is the good extreme, I should say. If I said that I'm an empath, then I have a little halo over my head, right? And so once you realize that you're operating in dichotomies, it makes it a lot less easier to take that shit serious, right? So that's why I just described it the way I did, because I don't really take that serious no more, because I understand, why I was believing or viewing things in a specific way. But if I would have never came to that conclusion that, okay, yeah, I'm an empathetic person, but I'm not going to be empathetic at all times, I realized that a lot of the strife that comes along with being quote-unquote an empath comes from people not being able to preserve themselves, or being able to read the room or read a situation for exactly what it is, right? So in my opinion, and I say in my opinion because this is a conclusion that I had to come to when I was evaluating myself, in my opinion, if you can't read the room, or if you can't accept things for exactly what they are, not for what you want them to be, then you're not really emotionally intelligent or socially intelligent. And so for me, going on that road of like that introspective, while I was, in pursuit of becoming more emotionally and socially intelligent, I had to ask myself those questions. I had to think those thoughts. I had to make those connections, because if not, I would have still just been satisfied with operating in dichotomies, polarizing things, putting them in categories as black and white, right or wrong, good or bad. And I would have been judging everything, possibly judging my own decision making and my own actions and my own urges and my own impulses. And not learning how to control myself while also recognizing that I could be impulsive, right? Like, I feel like when you operate in those dichotomies, it's very hard for you to come up with anything of substance when it comes to thinking of new ways to do things, thinking of ways to improve things, thinking of ways to intervene. Like, if you're just focused on the black and white all the time and you're not focused on properly analyzing those gray areas, the conclusions that you come up to, they might not even amount to shit, because they might not be true. It might not be based on the truth. It might just be based on what you thought was easier for your brain to process. But if you kind of challenge yourself a little bit more to think a little bit further, you can really come up with some shit. So for me, thinking about this social emotional intelligent thing, thinking about me considering myself an empath a while ago, I had to realize, okay, if you want to categorize yourself as an empath, that's cool. Ain't nobody stopping you, right? But understand that you can't use the fact that you're an empath to continue to make yourself a victim. A lot of people do that. Or you can't use the fact that you're an empath to put yourself on this pedestal to now where you are behaving in ways that make you feel like, or make other people view you as someone who's self-righteous. So yeah, I can still say, okay, I am empathetic because I have feelings. I do tend to use my emotions. I tend to think with my heart more than my mind sometimes, which is not always good. And as an empath, you need to know that. You know, you start recognizing things about yourself, and then you recognize, hey, these are the consequences that I've been facing because I'm like this. And hey, me being like this ain't such a bad thing, but hey, maybe I face a lot less consequences if I did a little bit of this or a little bit of that. And when I say a little bit of this or a little bit of that, it's that self-preservation. You have to preserve yourself. You can't throw up and show up on motherfuckers. You can't. And I think that, and this is something that I had to think about as well, I think that a part of my personal struggle with finding the balance between being empathetic and having self-preservation is the fact that I'm a woman. And society sees me as someone who is a nurturer. And I can't lie, I do play into that stereotype. But I had to frame it that way because I recognize now that I'm older that not every woman is nurturing just because they're a woman. And honestly, you're not obligated to be nurturing just because you're a woman if you don't necessarily feel like you need to be nurturing in that moment. And I realized that growing up. So that's why I frame it that way, right? Now, me, I am a nurturer. I can't lie. I am. But even in being a nurturer, and I'm so glad I don't have children, because I think that if I were to have kids, I probably would have learned this lesson the hard way. But even in being a nurturer, it's times when you have to realize that you got to pull yourself back. You know, you got to pull yourself back because you might be giving a little bit too much of yourself to nurture something that's not growing, right? So a part of my struggle comes from that, just me being a woman, that just being my innate nature to be quote unquote a nurturer. Another thing is I didn't realize how crazy social, like, I think that men and women, boys and girls, are both socialized so crazy, right, in society. It's crazy how we're socialized. And a lot of the ways that we're socialized are like to our detriment, and we don't even realize it because we are we're operating in those dichotomies, right? Even the gender roles that we adopt, boy, girl, one thing or the other, you know. Now, when I say that, please don't mistake this for a movement or any of that thing, because that's not what I'm saying when I talk about gender. And I'm gonna just keep that there and not say anything else about that. But the way that we're socialized as men and women is so crazy. Like it really is counterproductive in some ways to us becoming the best versions of ourselves. But anyway, women, because women are seen as nurturers by society, women are socialized to pretty much intervene in things that nobody really asked them to intervene in. It's the truth. And the one thing that helped me pick that up is just working with other women and kind of being annoyed by the shit that they do. But then, in addition to that, me working with other people and realizing, damn, you do the same shit. It just look different from you, you know? So it's like, okay, so this is a woman thing. This is what we do. And it's like, okay, this is because of how we're socialized. Okay, cool. So a lot of women that also view themselves as empaths, and even the ones that view themselves as the victim version of an empath, we all have something in common, which is we think we can save the day. Everybody thinks they're Captain Save-A-Ho, and we always intervene in stuff that nobody asked us to intervene in. Once I recognize that shit helped me out with that self-preservation. Because in order to preserve yourself, you have to read the room, and you have to realize, hold up, am I about to volunteer to do some shit that ain't nobody asked me to do? Because if so, I'm not about to do that. Number one, because I'm about to put more work onto my plate. Number two, I possibly could be causing confusion and not even realize it because I'm coming from a good place, quote unquote. Meanwhile, it's not really a good place. You just coming from a savior mentality and you don't recognize it because you're a woman and that's how you were socialized. You know, all that shit. I'm like, hold up. Once I realized all that and started putting that two and two together, see, right now, I'm telling y'all, this is how I was properly analyzing those gray areas that I saw. Honey, I stopped putting myself out there. Like, if ain't nobody asked you to do it, don't do it. If don't nobody want your help, don't give it. Read the room and give what you're supposed to give. Nothing more. And sometimes you can even do a little bit less depending on who you're working with. And I'm just being honest. Because you're not Captain Save-A-Ho. Really, somebody need to save you because you're only one person and the world gets crazy. So one of the most socially emotional things you can do. Come on. I'm doing all that. One of the most emotionally intelligent or socially intelligent things that you can do is recognize when don't nobody really need your help. Don't nobody need your 2 cents. Mind your business. And that was one of the things I had to tell myself. Like, this is how I talk to myself. That's why I just talk brash and all that when I'm talking to, you know, everybody. Because this is how I talk to myself too. But, you know, mind your business. And that really helped me a lot. Like, yeah, I'm an empath. Yeah, I feel for people. Yeah, I can see people's needs. Yeah, if I can help fill in a need or a void for somebody, I'm going to do it. Yeah, that's all fine and dandy. But once you realize that you're going out your way to do all of that just because of the fact that it's something within your identity that you haven't really unlocked. And so a part of you doing this is not just because you're a woman and you're a nurturer and it's, you know, a part of your nature, but also because you seek some sort of validation. Why you seek the validation? You gotta dig deep and realize those things and figure it out so that at some point you can analyze those gray areas properly enough to be completely and 100% comfortable with yourself, who you are, and how you show up in the world. And also how you interact. This way. And also how you interact with other people. People so rude. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm just going to go this way. my business, like I said. But anyway, you gotta challenge yourself to think deep. Yeah, that shit take a lot of time. Yeah, we all got better stuff to do. Yeah, there's money to be made. All that. Get out your feelings. Get in the bag. I hear all that, what y'all be saying. But is it helping you progress? Because I know a lot of people that get out their feelings, get in the bag, and then guess what? After the money is earned or spent, at some point in between, they gonna realize, damn, I ain't grow nothing. I ain't grow. I'm not as deep as I thought I was. I don't have as much depth and as much substance as I thought I did. And so once you realize that, then you're like, damn, I really ain't got no right to be calling anybody a goddamn narcissist. I don't have no right to be differentiating between myself and anybody else, putting myself on this pedestal as an empath, because really what I might be underneath all that bullshit I'm telling myself, I might actually just be codependent as fuck. And maybe me being codependent is what is making me make the wrong choices. Or is making me attract the wrong types of people. Or making the wrong decisions. So, it's a lot that comes with this life. But I say all this to say, if you're somebody who is really trying to become more emotionally and more socially intelligent, what you have to do is you have to put yourself in a position to think. Even if it hurts, even if it's hard, even if you feel like you can't do it, you have to think. You have to think. You have to strategize. You have to put some things together. It's imperative. And while we're talking about this, you know, one of the things that I had to do, again, in my walk, my own journey, I'm telling y'all, it was hard. But one of the things that I had to do was I had to figure out how I could help parents teach their children about social emotional intelligence and executive functioning skills, because that's another thing. That's a whole different topic. I didn't even touch on that in this video, but that'll be another video. Maybe not the next one, but another one. So stay tuned. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. But a part of my walk and my journey forced me to have to come up with solutions. Because a lot of this stuff we're not taught in our youth. So we are allowed to develop improperly and then grow into adults that are not socially aware or emotionally intelligent, which makes us make uninformed decisions, which makes us polarize each other. It makes us seek for validation when we really should just be living our lives and using our brains in order to navigate through some of the emotional challenges that we face on a day-to-day basis. So the curriculum is called Parental Guidance, A Parent's Guide to Positive Youth Development. Yes, it's a guide or a curriculum, whatever you want to call it. It's made for parents, but it's not one of those things where it's teaching you how to parent or is giving you parent advice. It's not that. You don't get parenting advice in that book. You literally just get lesson plans that can help you and your child have broader discussions about social emotional intelligence and executive functioning skills. And then there's some activities there that you can engage in together to help you all practice the skills together, and also to think about how you're going to continue to use those skills on a day-to-day basis to navigate through your life. But that's what I had to do. And it took a lot of thought, a lot of planning, a lot of trial and error to come up with that. But I do believe that those thoughts are going to open up and unlock other people's thoughts. And, maybe we'll have more authentic conversations about what social emotional intelligence really is. And maybe those conversations will lead to social change and, lead to more united communities, lead to more united households even. It don't even have to be communities just yet. We can take our time to get to the communities, but let's start at a household. That's the first step. And so, yeah. One of the most difficult parts about being a parent is that there aren't any rules. That's exactly why I created Parental Guidance. This is a home-based curriculum that includes a textbook and an online course. This curriculum was constructed to assist parents in teaching their children about social emotional intelligences. We also key in on executive functioning and positive youth development. This includes self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, building and managing relationships, making responsible decisions, personal development, and self-evaluation. There are 30 lesson plans that include rationale and objectives, discussions and journaling, activities, and ongoing tips for parents. The online course teaches you how to successfully implement this curriculum with your children. Don't you need parental guidance?